Good morning and welcome back to Ask Mason or Ask the Mayor questions. As I say every single week, we always try to answer any questions that are out there. I'm excited this morning I get to talk about a project that I like a lot here in Enid, and I've had the opportunity to serve on that board. I asked Christy Northcutt to come in this morning and talk to us. Christy, you're the chairman, right, of the PACE board, the Public Arts Commission.
Yes, I currently am the chair.
Yeah, and this is your second term, I think.
It is.
Yeah, you were on there whenever I was initially on that.
Yes, we worked together on it.
We did, I know.
We had a good time.
I know. But there are so many great projects going on around Enid right now that PACE is involved in. And people come up to me and just go, "Thank you so much for doing that." And I'm going, it was PACE. You know, it really wasn't me. But
well, we enjoy doing it. It's a fun commission to be on. You know, the arts are always fun. We, as the Public Art Commission, we are responsible for promoting public art in Enid, for assisting the city if they are trying to commission art, and then also taking care of the art that the city already owns. So that's pretty much what we do, and we meet every month. It's only required that we meet 4 times a year, but we have enough going on in Enid with the arts that we have to meet every month.
Absolutely. I remember the first time I saw that list of all the art that the city of Enid owns.
It's a very long list.
I was shocked. I had no idea. But anything you see, well, I mean, you can probably name a few of them.
Well, and whether it's a large statue that H. Holden did, whether it's a Clemmy photograph that is in one of the city offices, whether it's something in a park, or as big as a mural. You know, all those things are art, and we're responsible for taking care of them. And so when they're donated to the city or they're paid for by city funds, then they go into our list, and we check on those things. As I'm driving around town, if I see something that looks like it's been damaged or the weather has gotten to it, then we discuss that in our PACE meetings and decide what do we need to do to preserve that art.
I remember the statue downtown, the fountain. When I was on the PACE board, we had to have that sandblasted. Am I getting that right? Or?
We did, and it was difficult finding somebody who was qualified to do that because it was the historic watering trough, and it's at Grandin, Maine. And we did find somebody, and they came because it's marble and it's bronze and it's beautiful. But it had gotten to a point because of construction going on around it that concrete dust had gotten on it, and it didn't shine. It wasn't what it should be. And so a lady came in and she had to do it right there on site. It wasn't something that we could take to somebody. And she did it on site. We also, I was there just a week ago, and the plaque that goes with it, we've had that polished, and that's going to be reinstalled down by the trough so that people will know the history of it.
Oh, very good.
So watch for that in the next, next month or so.
Yeah. Christy, explain to me just a little bit about how the funding comes for those projects.
Okay. Well, the city each year, they get their budget together and they decide on their capital improvement plan. And then that comes to you, it comes to the commissioners, you go through it. And when it is finalized, anything that is in that capital improvement plan, that budget, 1% of that used to come to PACE. And the reason I say used to is because all of these years, since about 2013, when it was organized, 1% came to PACE. Now, this year, it was split, and we get 0.5% of that funding. The other 0.5% goes to Parks and Rec.
Right.
And so that they can use it for some projects. And I think there are going to be times that we can partner together to really make the most of both of our budgets.
Absolutely. So, for instance, and I believe I was looking at the ordinance, I believe it goes up to a $10 million project. Isn't that the top end of it?
Yes.
But if if we were to go in and it was a budgeted project that we were going to do, it was $4 million, then we would take $40,000 out of that and split between the PACE and the Parks Board.
Correct.
And then those dollars are paid to PACE one time a year, I think, something like that.
Yes.
We let that build up all year.
Yes.
And then that gives you your operating capital.
Correct.
So that allows PACE, I started to say your group, but it's really all of our group.
Right, right.
To go out and find these artists and commission them and get them to do public art for Enid.
Correct. And there are two different ways that we use those funds, because PACE, we can do our own projects, and we do 100% of the funding. Now, anytime we do a project, we always take a percentage of that, and that's usually about 20% of that we set aside and we put into maintenance.
Yes.
And that's because we need to take care of that art that we just created. And some of those dollars can be used for things like the watering trough that were here way before PACE ever existed.
Sure. Yeah.
And the other way that we do art is we have a grant request form. And it can be found on the Enid page, enid.org, the city page.
Okay.
And anyone can fill out a grant request form and bring it to PACE. And in doing that, we will look up to 150, really just 50% of their funding.
Okay.
So we can do 50% of the funding. Once again, we keep out 20% to take care and maintain that art.
Future maintenance.
And so we receive grants all the time. Some of those that were grant requests, Under Her Wing Was the Universe, was the first grant request the city ever got. And PACE had...
I find that surprising that that was the first one, but...
It was the first one. And PACE had existed for 5 years, and no one had come to PACE asking for a grant request. And so that was the very first one. And then some started to follow after that. Those a lot of times were murals. And whether they were the poppies mural that is on North Grand, that has the red poppies with the yellow ribbon around it, it's called Flanders Field. And so they came to us. And if you bring a grant request to us, especially with a mural, you have to own the building. And it has to stay there, the mural or the art, for 10 years.
Oh, okay.
If you sell the building, it has to be written into that contract that the art must remain for those existing
Very
years to make the 10 years. Because it's city money, and we want to invest it wisely. And it's not a mural to be put up that's temporary and it disappears after a year.
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to ask you also, we're about to, this week on the 25th at 10 a.m., we're going to do a ribbon cutting for the musical trio On the Trail. Am I saying that correctly?
You are, yes.
And I was very fortunate. The artist, which is from California, I believe.
He's from California, correct.
Had come to town to actually set that. And you were gracious enough to invite Melanie and I to come to that dinner that night, and was an amazing guy. I was so surprised. And tell me his name again.
It's Solomon Bassoff, but his studio is Fiduci Studio out in California.
Okay.
He and his wife have the studio together.
Okay. He was
but
so
he's
interesting,
incredible.
And I was amazed the type of art he did. He does that everywhere. What demand he is in.
Well, and that's when we were talking to him at dinner. He has 11 of these sculptures down in Waco on the riverfront, in the Riverwalk. So we came upon him, and then he really, really wanted to present to us. And his first presentation of his sculpture, he likes to do animals that are native to the area where they're going to be. He presented something and we all went, we've never seen that animal. And so he said, well, what would you like? And so when he came back with the design, and they are a musical trio, there are 3 of them, and they're facing outwards and they're holding metal drums. And those drums are perfectly tuned to a pentatonic scale, and they each are a different height so you can see them. 3 people can be playing the drums at the same time. And they're fun characters. There's a raccoon, there's an armadillo, and a coyote.
Yeah.
Yes. And if you're standing in front of that coyote, his eyes look so real. Like he's really looking at you, and that's what everybody has enjoyed.
Yeah.
But you can play them there. It's on the Enid Walking Trail. And if you're on the trail, it is close to South Hayes Street, where it crosses Hayes Street right before you get to Cleveland, where that trailhead is. So you can park at the trailhead at South Cleveland or South Hayes.
And just walk right in there
Yes.
to it. Ironically, my wife and I walk by it every single morning.
Great.
And
Great.
right there on the trail. And
Well, I want a video of you guys playing it. Playing the drums.
Yeah, we could do that. We could do that. But it's just, as you know, my wife Melanie, she's an art major and she loves that. But she was just talking one day about how children are going to enjoy that every single time they go by, because it sets back in some trees. I mean, it's great.
And it really is. And we walked up and down the trail trying to find the right place, and we came up on those big mature trees. And I looked at it and I thought there's shade for the metal drums, which we needed, but those creatures would be living in those trees.
That's right.
In the wild. And everybody who is walking by, running on their bike, they're so excited to come upon them. And it is, everything that we do, it's ADA compliant. So anyone can get all the way around that sculpture and play the drums. It's for all ages.
And we encourage them to touch it and be a part of it. And and it's amazing. It's real good.
Well,
and very well done. And I think as more and more of our population knows that it's there, they'll get in there and see it. I just think it's a very good attraction or addition to our trails.
Well, and we talked that night with Solomon, and our little musical trio, they don't have individual names. So we are going to have a naming contest to name our furry friends. So we will be working on that and releasing that to the public and letting the public send us suggestions for the names of each one of those critters.
That's excellent. Very good. Wanted to ask you one other thing. You and I were both at an event this Saturday down at our city library.
Yes.
NBC Bank each year commissions a piece of art from a, I believe it has to be an Oklahoma artist.
It's an Oklahoma artist, yes.
This man happened to be John Newsom, grew up and graduated from Enid, Oklahoma, now lives in Brooklyn, I think he told me.
Yes.
In New York. He and his wife, Wendy, and their 2 children. And he had been commissioned and had done this painting, and it's amazing. It's called Welcome Home.
It's called Homecoming.
Homecoming.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. But it is it's a buffalo that is looking straight at you with all these scissor tails around it. And the point is, he's happy to be there. He's not charging, nor is he backing up. I found it very interesting whenever he explained it. But he also donated the 4 color plates that make that up and make all the prints that they do. And he had one of those. So he donated those to the city of Enid. They'll be kept over at the library at least for a while. And that will eventually fall under PACE, right? I
would think it would. And not that we're a commission of people, of 6 people plus 1 city commissioner. So it's not going to be in our homes. It's going to be out in the public.
That's right.
But I would think it would go under our list, and it's something that's been donated as art for the city. And so it would go on our list of things that we keep track of, that we make sure we know where it is, that it's being taken care of, which at the Enid Public Library is a perfect place for it. And John talked about how important the library was to him growing up, and he went every week. That's where he found out about art, and was reading Art Desk and dreaming of being an artist. So it's the perfect place for it.
He talked about going up and down those stairs as a little kid.
Yes, and so that is the perfect place for it. If it ever finds a different home or travels to be exhibited around town, then we we make sure nothing happens to it, and if something were to happen to it, then we have things in our maintenance fee to then correct anything, whether it's something gets broken or dented on a frame. We will always take care of the art.
Well, I just found that so much fun going down there on Saturday, that someone that lived and grew up in Enid makes it all the way to New York in the art business, and then comes back to donate that to us. It just almost seems like every time he has success, it allows our little community to have just a little small piece of that success also.
It does, and I think John's very kind to share that with us. And I went to school with him, and I always go, "Oh, my friend John Newsom," because he's a very nice guy, and I think he really was glad to strengthen that connection with Enid. And to be able to be here this weekend. And
we're very happy that he chose to do that.
Yes.
So, well, Christy, thank you so much for coming in and being a part today. I just drive around our community. I see all the murals. I see all the art. And we're just getting started, aren't we?
That's right. That's right. And I appreciate you inviting me, because I want people to know that there is a grant request form out there, and that they can bring ideas to us. They can bring a request that they want to partner with us. We're here for the city and to add more art.
Well, thank you for what you do, and the entire commission. I know that's a lot of work, going through the applications and meeting every single month. So we do appreciate people that will stand up, have enough pride and respect for their community that they constantly want to make it better, and you do that along with the commission. So thank you so much. Thanks for being here today, being part of the show. Don't be a stranger.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Want to remind everybody, anytime you want to send in a question, you can do that. Just send it to askmason@enid.org, and we'll do our very best to answer that to the best of my ability. If I can't answer it, I'll find somebody that can. So until 2 weeks from now, enjoy Enid. Thank you.